Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm a creative inspiration coach who helps writers reignite their creative sparks. This podcast is here to help you knock down any barriers that stand between you and your dreams. You can do it. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is episode 37, Appreciation for Yourself. So today I'd like to talk to you about a very important concept, which is your ability to appreciate yourself. And self-appreciation is something that many of us may start out feeling uncomfortable with to begin with. It may seem kind of tacky to us, or like we're being conceited, or it may just feel weird. But taking the time to appreciate the good things about yourself and the good things that you do can really help you to follow your dreams and to become a success. So maybe you're like, well, how? Right? The thing is, the better you feel about yourself and appreciate what you're capable of, the more likely you'll be to commit to your goals, the more likely you'll be to finish tasks that you start, and the more likely you'll be to feel good about your life overall. So I would like to challenge everyone listening to this to think of one thing you truly appreciate about yourself. Now, it could be anything at all. So go ahead, think about something you appreciate about you. It could be your ability to peel an apple, let's say. It could be your nose or your eye color. Or it could be how dedicated you are to someone. Maybe your spouse or significant other, your mom or dad, your sibling, or your friend. It could be how good you are at making pancakes fluffy. Whatever it is, think of that thing and pause for a moment. Really let yourself appreciate that part of you. And maybe you think it's silly to appreciate that you can make pancakes fluffy. But it's not. It's important because even the little things about you that you can appreciate help to build you up and make you feel better about yourself. Now, let's say you're in a different situation. Right now, maybe you're thinking to yourself, or you're saying, Jeannie, I don't appreciate anything about myself. Maybe you don't like yourself. Maybe you can't imagine liking yourself or appreciating anything about yourself right now. And if that's the case, that's okay. So let's do this. I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to think of someone who loves you right now or has loved you in the past, someone you know loved you. If I were to ask that question of them, what do you appreciate about who you are? So let's say your name is Tony. What do you appreciate about Tony? And I was to ask that to someone who loved Tony very much. Okay, what would they answer? So if I was to go up to someone who you know loves you very much, or did love you very much, and I went and asked them, what do you love about so-and-so? What would they say? Now, I realize this may feel a little strange, but I also know that deep down, you know the answer to that. you know exactly what they would say. So maybe you think because, you want to say, it doesn't matter though, Jeannie, because it's just my mom. And moms have to believe in how good their kids are. And moms have to appreciate things about their kids, so that doesn't count. Or maybe it was your grandma or someone else that you say, no, it doesn't count because they're forced by law to appreciate their kids, right? Let me tell you a little secret about that. No one has to believe anything, ever. They just don't. And that includes you. So you don't have to believe anything about yourself that you don't want to. You get to choose what you believe. So I want to challenge you to believe that you are worth appreciating. You are worth your own appreciation. So if at this point you're still shaking your head going, you're still having difficulty with this concept of appreciating yourself, I would like you to picture a newborn baby, brand new. I want you to picture the chubby cheeks, the squirmy little arms and legs. Imagine that baby powder or baby lotion smell that they have fresh out of the bath. I want you to see their 10 tiny fingers and their 10 perfect little toes. Aren't they cute? Now, as you're looking at this baby, what can you appreciate about it? Maybe you can appreciate, maybe you're imagining it being in your lap. So maybe you appreciate how warm it feels in your lap to have this little baby there. Maybe you can appreciate its little laughter. And babies have the cutest laughter, right? Maybe you can appreciate its beautiful little smile. And no, don't say it's just gas, right? Maybe you can appreciate just how freaking adorable it is, right? Now imagine that adorable, chubby-cheeked little infant that we're talking about is you. You are that baby. Because you were a baby once, right? We all were. A lot easier to appreciate yourself thinking of yourself in that way, huh? Nobody can look at a baby and not appreciate something about it. So imagine yourself as that baby. Because we don't have to try very hard to appreciate or love something as sweet and innocent as a newborn child. Yet sometimes, somehow, we do have a hard time appreciating and loving ourselves as adults. But please remember, you are that baby. You are just as deserving, just as worthy. You have just as much value and are deserving of every and all appreciation that there exists in the world, in the universe even. You were born that way, and you still are that way. Sorry if you're hearing some skittering in the background. My kitty cats are playing together in the hallway. Sorry about that. So remember, you have everything in the world to appreciate about that baby. So you have everything in the world to appreciate about yourself. So let's try this again. What is something you appreciate about yourself? So I'm going to give you a few examples of what you might say. And they may or may not apply to you. but just think about them. Here's one example. I appreciate that I survived that bad thing in my childhood. Here's another. I appreciate that I have beautiful hair. Right? Those are very different. So it can be as deep and profound as you want. And no, you don't have to share it with anybody. Or it can be as kind of surface and superficial as you want too. It can just be your hair. It still counts. As long as you're appreciating something about yourself. That's the important thing. Here's another example. I appreciate my ability to make my children laugh. I appreciate how clean my house is. Just FYI, that one definitely does not always apply to me, okay? In fact, that's pretty rare for me. Wish I could say that more often, but yeah. Here's another one. I appreciate that I hold the door for older people or for people with strollers. I appreciate how hard I work on my career. I appreciate how much I love my wife or my husband, my girlfriend or my boyfriend. I appreciate how good I am at taking care of my pets. I appreciate that I completed my education. And you can say, I appreciate it that I completed elementary school or grade school. I appreciate that I completed high school. I appreciate that I completed my college degree or my master's degree or my doctoral education. No matter what level you've completed, appreciate that of yourself. And I know there's some folks out there, especially in certain generations, they may have only completed elementary or grade school. Maybe they have an 8th grade or 3rd grade even education. Appreciate that you got that far. Appreciate what you have completed. And appreciate what you've learned during your life, because no matter what education you have learned a lot in this lifetime. You're what I call self-taught, and there's a lot of value in that. I appreciate that I smile at complete strangers. I appreciate that I accept others for who they are without judgment. I appreciate that I'm trying to be a better person. I think a lot of us can agree with that one, right? And if it's really hard to come up with something, try this one. I appreciate my ability to walk. I appreciate my ability to breathe. I appreciate my health. And one last example. I appreciate my ability to see the good in others, even when I'm angry or upset with them. So those are just a few examples, but I want you to think of a few of your own. I'd like you to actually take the time to pause and think of at least 10 things that you appreciate about yourself. Or even better, sit down and make a list, either on your phone or old-fashioned style on pen and paper, pencil and paper. Make a list of what you appreciate about yourself. And really, really feel it. What do you appreciate about yourself physically or mentally? Or what is something that you do, like an action, that you appreciate about yourself? Like, do you always make sure your family has clean socks? That's awesome. Do you drive safely? That's amazing. Do you keep your voice soft even in the midst of an argument? So good. A lot of people can't do that or struggle to do that. Do you always check the mail? Good. Do you donate money or other supplies or old clothing that's still in good condition to worthy charities? That's wonderful. Do you love animals or nature? That helps so much to rejuvenate us. These are all things to appreciate about yourself. And here's the thing. The more you appreciate about yourself, the less you'll need others to appreciate you. Let me say that again, and please hear this. The more you appreciate yourself, the less you'll need others to appreciate you. You'll be able to depend on yourself. You won't have to look outside of yourself for approval or for the appreciation you've been seeking from others. This is something that Abraham Hicks talks about a lot. And the more you appreciate yourself, the more you'll love yourself, which will mean that you'll be more confident. The more confident you'll be, the more that you love yourself, the more that you appreciate yourself. And really, the better you'll feel overall. So what do you appreciate about yourself? If you're brave and courageous, share in the comments. All right, guys. I'd like you to have a wonderful day, week, month, and year. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I appreciate every download and every person who has subscribed. I release new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a review. The more reviews fledgling shows like mine receive, the more visible it becomes on the various podcast stations. Each review helps, so if you enjoy what I've been sharing, please help others find this show by leaving a brief review. Thanks again for listening.